Good morning from Achnasheen. I'm with my friend Joe White and we are trying to get to Torridon from Strathcarron. So we started quite a while ago. We've had to take it very steadily on the roads, and whether we'll be able to get to Torridon is up in the air. We've actually got a big hill coming up ahead of us, but there has been one hell of a lot of snow up here in Torridon and I've managed to get up here, so I'm incredibly excited. I love photographing in the winter. But we're expecting knee to waist deep powder snow that's probably going to stop us getting high, though we will give it a go. But we're hoping to just get up to some mid-level trees this morning and see what we find up there. Well, we've made it past Kinloch U, but there is a lot more snow on the road now and it is looking incredible. We are peak blue hour. Well, we were going to carry on along the road, but we're going to have to stop here. We've got the one of the more famous, well, probably the most famous location in Torridon, just here, Loch Clair, and we can see ice and snow on the loch. Just spent an age putting gaiters on my boots. There's enough snow down here that you really do need gaiters to stop snow melting inside your boots, but new boots, so they didn't fit. Bit of a stupid mistake, but I'm going to get here in time. And just look at this. This is where we're going. So this is the roadside location in Torridon. It's incredibly accessible but very beautiful, and I've got views everywhere. So here we are, and I'm going to have to get my kit out pretty sharpish now. But it's difficult deciding exactly where to be. It's a little bit scrappy, despite the absolutely unbelievable snow. The trees have lost their snow, and the loch is frozen in a slightly awkward way. I'm wondering if I might be able to make something of these patterns down at this near edge just here. I am really struggling because there is a line of obvious pylons in the direction of Beinn Damph. So, you know, trying to find a composition in this direction, I don't think that's going to work so well. Though it is an option. And then it's just hard to find a composition here because these trees are so strong. They're so dark and dominant within the frame when everything else is pristine white. I've never seen the mountains like this. It now feels like too much pressure. I really like this hole in the ice in the bottom of the frame there. That's a lovely circular shape, and roughly this view with the nice flowing line on the bottom left corner. So a composition like this is quite nice. Of course, there is this issue with that lump on the right there, and I'm really not sure that it's going to work as a result, but I think I'm going to set up here initially and see how it works out. At least I got the ball rolling, because I was certainly struggling to shoot anything, and sometimes it's probably best just to start taking photos and take a bit of the pressure off, even if they aren't entirely successful like this one. I think that tuft on the right that I pointed out is a big problem in the image. But even if it weren't there, the circular shape towards the bottom of the frame, it's just too small to really be a feature in the image. And I'm not really sure with the balance of that backdrop either. The trees are very strong and they just feel like they're competing too much with the overall feeling of this bitterly cold winter morning. You miss it up here because snow showers passing through, and there was some amazing fingers of, well, I think it's a graupel actually, soft hail effectively, falling out of the cloud above these trees here. You can see that the main loch here does have prettier ice, stronger shapes. I love the opportunity to shoot snow and rain and hail, or graupel in this case, falling directly from a cloud, because it just adds bags of atmosphere. And this image also has quite a subdued colour palette, so it functions almost like a black and white, really focused on the structure. And I think that ice and reflection on the water work really nicely together as another feature that just really works well, ties the image together as reflections so often do. So I think this is a photo that I'll end up using, even if it's a little bit tightly framed at the bottom, because there was a bank coming into the bottom left of the frame, so I cropped a little bit tighter than I might have otherwise liked to do. That's any hope of a sunrise snuffed out. And it's quite windy in this squall as it comes through. This is a rather pretty scene here with these holes in the ice, but really I want them to be larger within the frame so that they balance the trees a little better. And that means walking down into the loch, which I'm not prepared to do, unsurprisingly. I've managed to get a lot closer than I thought I would and find a composition that I really love. These pools are almost too perfect and they balance those trees really nicely. I think I'd love some clouds behind the mountain, but you can't have it all, and I can now wait for some light maybe. But I am stood on thin ice in order to get here. It's only above a few inches of water, but I'd rather not fall through it. This is definitely my favourite image from that morning shoot. It perhaps would have been nice to have some clouds or more dynamic lighting, but what flat lighting does is really emphasise composition, and I spent a lot of time thinking about exactly how I wanted to position the camera and make the most of these ellipsoid shapes in the snow. It's a really beautiful thing to photograph, actually, where you've got these little holes in the ice and that allows water to seep through, and I think the capillary action then creates a melt circle in the snow. So a pretty thing to photograph. And as I said, when you've got this flat lighting, it really does emphasize the composition, and consequently it shows your ability as a photographer. And so it can be really nice to have the time with these kinds of subjects where the light isn't changing that much to try to be really accurate and personal with how you approach a scene. The light is so changeable this morning with these showers passing through, and you can see just how much difference it's made to this scene that I photographed earlier. This lovely golden light reflected on the water in a really strong colour contrast between the snow and that golden colour. So this is that second version of the scene, and a completely different image. The light really was changing quite rapidly, and although most of the time it was pretty flat and overcast and we certainly didn't get any direct light, there were a few opportunities to get some reflections in the direction of the sunrise, and I'm pretty happy to have captured this image, and I do think it's composed a little bit better than that first version as well, with a bit more space at the bottom of the frame because I was in a fractionally different location. The light's still changing here at Loch Clair, and if we hung around I'm sure we'd find other images, but I've got a couple that I'm happy with, and we've got other plans for the day. We're hoping to get up to a different section of trees and maybe even try to get up a hill. So if we're going to do that, we've got to get going because it's gone 10 already and sunset's at 4, and if we're going to slog up a hill in snow, we certainly need to allow ourselves plenty of time. So even though I'd love to stay here and take more photos, we're going to move on. Joe and I have had our obligatory morning coffee at the car, and then we're underway. We're behind time realistically to get high if there's as much snow as we think, and it is painful looking around at the moment because the view behind me right now is ridiculous through the trees, and you know, I just want to stop, find a composition looking through the trees with the snowy mountain behind, but you know, this is the problem with getting up mountains, is sometimes you just have to commit to going up, and it is a very committing approach to photography that unfortunately means you miss quite a lot on the way, but that's why not too many people are doing it, I guess. Needless to say, northwest Scotland is rarely like this. The mountains are plastered with snow and some lovely midday light coming through. It's about 11 o'clock, 11:30. We're now at our decision point because ahead of us the paths fork, and if I flip you around to our left there is the path that goes to some lovely trees running down by the river, and that's actually where I'd hoped to be for sunrise this morning, but the roads had other plans. But the right hand side takes us up to Beinn Damph, which is the mountain that you see in the distance, and actually the summit is the leftmost, slightly lower promontory that you see there. I guess it's going to surprise absolutely no one on this channel to know that we're going to go for it. Go for it with the caveat that if we can't get up there, we're going to have to turn around and we will end up in these trees if that happens. But there's a snow shower coming in at the moment anyway, so there is no point hanging around here for half an hour. So at 250 meters, which we're at here, the snow is really nice, soft and powdery. But obviously if this gets waist deep, we'd be in trouble. But I have to say, and I'm tempting fate here, if you look up where we're walking to the pass there, it actually looks okay. So I'm optimistic. Up we go. When it's snowing like this, it feels like you're never going to come out of the cloud, but of course it can change so fast, so it's not looking promising right now, but plenty of time left in the day. It's about 12:30. We are just getting up to the Beinn now, 600 meters or so, which is awesome because from now on I know that the snow isn't going to stop us getting further. It's just going to be whether we want to go to the top of Beinn Damph, because the one risk we take is that we just end up in the cloud. Camera is looking pretty snowy. We found a rock to hide behind. Joe's having his coffee here. Not much shelter, but it's something anyway. The wind is pretty vicious at points, so nice to have a bit of a break. We are in the cloud room at the moment. It is properly socked in. We can hardly see a thing ahead of us. It's improved a little bit, so I guess there's some hope, but it's 2 o'clock. We've got 2 hours of good light left and we've got all the way to go back. It's only 1 kilometre and 70 meters or so of ascent to the top now, so we've basically done it, but it feels like a bloody long way when there's so much snow on the ground and you've got to do it all again on the return. Well, we've made it to the summit of Beinn Damph and there should be the most incredible view behind me here. One of the best views in this southern area of the Torridon hills. But we're clagged in, and that comes with the territory, unfortunately, especially on this mountain. This is my 4th time on this summit without having a really clear view. I've come twice in the summer and once before in the winter. And it's taken everything we got to get here. Joe's got a really bad cough. So he's going to be really struggling on the way back, I think. And we've got a good forecast for the next couple of days, but I'm not sure we're going to be able to get up another mountain because this has just been too hard getting up here. And we've, of course, got to get all the way back to the car now, which neither of us are looking forward to. So we're going to wait for maybe 10 minutes and then turn around so that we've still got some light on the way back. But yeah, pretty gutted at the moment. Unbelievably, it has cleared ever so slightly, and a minute ago it was almost clear, and I do have a shot of this view. I don't know whether it's quite going to be worth it. I'll need to have a look at it, but at least we've seen something, because we have put in one hell of a lot of effort to get here. There's no doubt that this was disappointing, but at least we got to see the view, because I think going to the summit of Beinn Damph to see absolutely nothing would have been infinitely more frustrating. So at least we got to see the opposite peaks, but it wasn't quite what we'd hoped for, obviously. This scene would have been nicely side-lit from the right-hand side at sunset if we'd been lucky enough to have a sunset. And actually, when we looked up at the mountain in the morning, it was well clear of the cloud, and so we had reasons to be hopeful for sunset, but it just didn't work out that way, and that's the way it goes sometimes. I did take this photo from Beinn Damph, which is the neighbouring peak to the east, a few years previously, and it gives you a sense of what nice side light can do on these snowy scenes, although I think that this scene is actually a little bit more interesting from a compositional perspective anyway, because going back to this scene from Beinn Damph, you can see there's this huge empty area at the base of the frame. It's missing out that massive Lochen, which is actually a bit more distant and to the left there, and the streams don't really hold the same level of interest, and then you've got this promontory coming out from the mountain at the base of the frame too. So I'm not quite sure what the solution is going to be for this scene, because it's certainly a summit that I would like to get a photograph from. I guess on my 5th or 6th visit, it really has become a bogey hill for me, which makes it all the more frustrating that we weren't lucky on this particular evening. But there you go. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video, even though it wasn't quite the roaring success that I hoped it would be. And if you have, please do like and subscribe. And I'm going to leave you with this image, which I took handheld on the way up and didn't really think too much of at the time. But then I got home and got quite excited about this photo. The foreground actually isn't in perfect focus, but I'm not sure that it really matters because there's some lovely lines here and a bit of mystery from that cloud, a lack of scale. There's a bit of a question as to exactly what you're looking at least initially. So this is certainly an image that I think I will be publishing in the future. But although this trip wasn't the success I'd hoped for, the following morning certainly was. I had an amazing sunrise, so please do keep an eye out for the next video.